Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the council meeting in the town of Petawawa for May the 3rd. Good evening, everyone. With that, I'll call the meeting to order and ask those in attendance if they just bow their head for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you, everyone. With that, we go to the agenda. I need a motion to approve the agenda, please. Councillor Root, second by Deputy Mayor Service. All in favor? It is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does any member wish to disclose any pecuniary interest in any of the matters excuse me, before us this evening? Seeing none, approval of the minutes of the council meeting of April the 19th. Are there any errors or omissions to the minutes as distributed? Seeing none, then I need a motion to accept the minutes, please. Councillor Sabran, seconded by Councillor Carmody. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We have a presentation this evening from the Petawawa Accessibility, their accessibility work plan. Councillor Sabran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I start, I just want to make council aware of some sad news in regards to a previous member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Jackie Nyman passed away on the 23rd of April at the age of 53 years. Jackie was a member of the Petawawa Accessibility Advisory Committee from 2017 to 2019. Jackie was born with spina bifida, and she used a wheelchair as her mobility device. She could often be seen traveling our sidewalks and roadways using her chair. Jackie was a staunch advocate for the disabled and greatly assisted the town in our barrier-free audits and by sharing of her personal realities accessing goods and services. She has been greatly missed at our committee table. We extend our sympathy to all of Jackie's family and friends as they mourn her loss. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
What I'm going to start with is just a quick little overview about accessibility. Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act, the AODA, is a law that sets out a process for developing and enforcing accessibility standards. Persons with disabilities and industry representatives work together with government to develop standards in 5 core areas: customer service, information and technology, information and communications, employment, transportation, and the design of public spaces. Ontario has set the goal of being fully accessible by 2025. The AODA requires that the town of Petawawa establish its own accessibility advisory committee, and the majority of members must be people with a disability or people who represent those with a disability, such as a parent of a minor child or a person who works with people with a disability, such as an occupational therapist. The PAAC committee presently consists of 5 members. Myself as a council representative and current chair, Sheila Clark, Allison Morris, Sharon Slaney, and Lynn Davenport. Our committee can accommodate a maximum of 8 members. We are also very well supported by the staff team as we work towards an accessible Petawawa, from planning to building and infrastructure development and renewal, from our community services department and economic development, and in the provision of goods and services within the town at all levels. We receive administrative support from the town's executive assistant, Kate Bennett. Disabilities are visible and invisible, temporary or permanent. Think of the number of people you know who use hearing aids or wear glasses or use mobility supports such as a cane or a walker. Then think of the number of people you know who use wheelchairs, communicate using sign language, who read with the support of Braille text, people who live with mental health issues, those who have an intellectual or learning disability. A disability can affect anyone. 1 in 7 Ontarians has a disability. For Petawawa, that equates to 2,455 people. Now, factor in the following. More than one-third of seniors have a disability. With baby boomers getting older, seniors are the fastest growing population segment in Ontario. It is predicted that within the next 5 years, 1 in 5 Ontarians will have a disability. For Petawawa, that means 3,437 people. It is the vision of the Petawawa Accessibility Advisory Committee, representing the town of Petawawa, that people with disabilities will experience barrier-free access to public services in Petawawa in accordance with the AODA. The town of Petawawa, through the AAC and its staff team, is committed to treating people with disabilities in a way that allows them to maintain their dignity and their independence. Now I'm going to put on my assistive device, and thank you, Dawn, for getting the screen up. So this year, of course, as we are all challenged with the realities of COVID, we decided that we were going to need to transfer some of our 2020 goals over into 2021. And we also needed to look at the fact that within this year, COVID will remain with us. So we were very cognizant of ensuring that we had a plan that presented achievable goals. So first, we have 5 different strategy areas that we cover. The first strategy area is access. So the objective is that municipal buildings are barrier-free and accessible to all. What we have done is conducted barrier-free audits using checklists that have been developed by other places, and consequently, we had identified barriers that were short-term in nature, medium-term in nature, and longer-term. The short-term ones have pretty much been accomplished over the last few years. So this year, we will be reviewing our medium-term access deficiency and propose budgeting considerations to correct them, either within this year's budgets, if possible, or recommendations towards future budgeting purposes. We will be needing to conduct a few more barrier-free audits because we want to conduct them every 3 years to ensure that we remain current. And so we plan to conduct 2 barrier-free audits in 2021. We also believe that developers may not all be aware of the advances in technology and the opportunities for accessibility, nor necessarily the best practices that may be out there. So as part of the Planning Act, we are required to review and provide comment on site plans. We are part of the circulation of those documents. We have updated our site plan letter, and we're also asking this year to receive a reply. We historically have sent out the letter, and then we're not really sure what actions may have been taken or were considered. So we're asking for that kind of a response so that we can start to track these kinds of opportunities. We also have decided that we will be contacting all of the municipalities in Ontario, since we all fall under the Ontario rules, to see if they have considered best practices, if there are any advantages to be seen out there. And only by sharing our best practices among and within each other, we will be able to make advancements. As I had made a comment a couple of months ago after attending the workshop that was sponsored by the Rick Hansen Foundation, at that point, they were saying that if we only look at compliance to minimal standards, then today's standards become tomorrow's disability. So again, by reaching out and seeing what we have in terms of opportunities that may be, again, sort of low-hanging fruit things that we can do that is not going to cost a lot of money, or that can be easily reached within our municipality, then we'll be looking at doing those types of things. And then, of course, after that consultation process, we will be putting together a short brief, and we will present it to council for your consideration. Okay, so I think I'm on the next one there, Dawn. We have been asked by one of the departments to look at the height installation for accessible buttons and different kinds of things like that for our different municipal buildings. We also are going to be asking the chief building official to provide us with an update if there have been any code realities that will be affecting, that we need to be looking at, particularly when we're looking at the site plans and in consideration of best practices. We will also, as council is aware, through the Economic Development Department, we are conducting the Community Improvement Plan survey right now. And so if there are any outcomes with respect to accessibility, we will be providing assistance with communicating that and advocating for that within our business community. So our second strategy is under public awareness, networking, and collaboration. We circulate various articles. If you've received your Town Times, you will note that there is an accessibility article in this iteration of the Town Times. It also speaks to the achievements that have been achieved by, I guess, the various departments, and certainly it's something that we should be celebrating. We have a lot of neat things that we're doing in our community that we would call best practices, making our beaches more accessible, making opportunities for goods and services more accessible. And so again, we've identified those within this article, and we will be continuing to participate in any types of national awareness weeks or forums. We will also be looking at updating our binder, which is available at the Petawawa Public Library for businesses or for folks who just want to learn a little bit more about accessibility and what it means for them, to them, or within our community. We also are going to be creating an orientation package for new members and also new council members and perhaps new staff. We'll see how far we get, and certainly we'll look at consulting with the staff team to see what's already out there. And again, if we can play a role in helping to increase the understanding of accessibility, then we'll be planning to do that. Dawn, if we could keep going, thank you. The next is training and development. From time to time, we have received requests to provide orientation sessions or some training and development. One that was most recent was to the Scouts, where we went to the Southside Community Center and we walked with them through that building, and we talked about accessibility. And if somebody had a visual impairment, or if somebody was hard of hearing, or if somebody was using a chair, how would they access these services? What are the things that you look for? That kind of thing. So we'll be open to that as well. And we also are going to be looking at developing resources, materials, particularly with respect to customers within the town and residents who have PTSD. There are certain realities that when folks with PTSD go into our buildings and into businesses and things like that. And so Allison, who is an occupational therapist, has worked with a number of clients from the Petawawa area in particular, and she has brought that one forward for us. So we're excited to be able to start to look at addressing that. And then the fourth piece of our plan is, of course, the accountability framework. As standards become promulgated, we, of course, usually through the staff, will receive notice of those standards. Of course, they go to the municipality first. And we will also be looking at standards and regulations for the medium-term barrier-free audit deficiencies. And the town is also looking at developing an accessible document guidelines and a draft proposal by the town. That's predominantly in-house and internal, and I understand that there's a committee that's looking at that along with our website. And I guess finally, one of the things that we have historically not been doing as well as we would like to is synchronize what is actually happening in the town between what the plan is, what the regulation is, what the outcome is. And so we've linked up with the various departments, and we will be formalizing that approach this with consultation to see how we can sort of plan together better, and so that our plan can be a more robust, all-encompassing plan. And of course, then we will be celebrating our success on an annual basis. Finally, the area of outcomes is, of course, one of the requirements is an annual compliance report that needs to be completed and submitted. I believe that's done by the clerk's office or the deputy clerk's office in consultation with the team. And also, we will be ensuring that we monitor our work plans so that we can, in fact, achieve all of our goals this year. So, in a nutshell, that is, of course, what the Accessibility Advisory Committee work plan is up to. I guess in closing, one of the things is that we want to ensure is that we are an accessible community, because it means being an inclusive community, and accessibility is something that benefits us all. So Thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Teresa. Through you to your committee. Thank you for advocating for those of our residents who have disabilities, as you've highlighted. It's not always the obvious disabilities that are front and center. There are many that you've highlighted that we don't sometimes realize eyewear and hearing aids are in fact disabilities. I remember years ago when I worked with Bill Higginson on this particular process, he said, as you get older, those who have one disability end up with two, sometimes three. So as we move forward and get into the advanced years, we're looking at a lot more disabilities than we had when we were much younger. But thank you to you for advocating through your committee to those who have disabilities in our community. Open it up for questions. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. Thank you, Councillor Sabrin, for your report and for your tireless efforts for many, many years now in leading the Accessibility Committee. And I'd just like to comment that I think it's one of the more important committees that we have. And accessibility is, what comes to mind with people is often physical accessibility issues or challenges or barriers. And, you know, people think ramps, and you install ramps everywhere and that'll solve all the problems. But there's more than just the physical aspect to the challenges people with disabilities. There are invisible aspects as well. And the one that comes to mind immediately is access to the job market. Meaningful work is a critical component in anyone's life, but especially so for somebody who's challenged. And unless you have access to meaningful work and the job market, then you're missing out on a critical part of life. And there is a lot of work that's being put into this issue by a lot of agencies, social service type agencies. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, Teresa, for all the work that you've done in this committee.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Carmody. Further members of council. Well, to you again, Councillor, for all the work that you've done. We've come a long way in the last number of years, but there's still a long way to go. And it's a committee that works hard, tirelessly behind the scenes, doing what you're doing here. This work plan will assist the developers and construction people and businesses as a whole to truly address the issues of accessibility. So again, to you and your committee, thank you for what you're doing for the residents of the town of Petawawa. Thank you. If there's no further questions, we'll receive that work plan as information. Thank you, Councillor. With that, no bylaws this evening. No correspondence. Okay. Then we'll go to minutes. Council Committee meeting of April the 26th, 2020. They've been circulated to you. Any errors or omissions to the minutes? And seeing none, any questions or not questions, I'll ask from a mover and a seconder, then we'll find out if there's any questions. Mover and a seconder, please, for the minutes. Deputy Mayor Service, seconded by Councillor Sabrin. Are there any questions on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It is carried. Pembroke and Area Airport. Need a motion to accept the minutes of the Pembroke and Area Airport. Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Mogens. Councillor Root, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've already brought to council's attention and yourself what's been the happenings out there at the airport. But just to follow up to the Thursday, March 11th meeting I did bring forward that we did go out and seek some consultation in regards to hiring of grassroots public affairs. There's nothing new yet to report back. We're in the second month of this process. As soon as we get information back, I will be addressing council and bringing everyone up to speed of findings and what's going on out there that may have some advantages to help the airport move forward. But other than that, like I said, I have spoke to this. I will take any questions if any councillors and yourself have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Open it up for questions of committee, or council, I should say. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. For one of the members on the Airport Commission, I've seen some reports in the media lately about a couple of trespassing signs that were stolen from the airport. I was just curious if the property along Len Hopkins Drive across from the airport where the Renfrew County 150 event took place, is that the property that was signed as no trespassing, where people walk their dogs and pick berries and that?
Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Councillor Carney, that is the property they're talking about. The signs did go up for many reasons, private property to the airport, and also COVID, trying to protect our citizens during this time when they shouldn't be gathering. There's been a lot of gathering out there with as people want to walk the dogs, and so it's just precautionary measures. Thank you.
Further on the airport minutes. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. Police Services Board, need a motion to accept, please. Councillor Carmody, seconded by Deputy Mayor Service. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. So before you have the minutes of the Psb meeting that was held on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. We all wore green. And the things of note to report on, we passed a new policy for monitoring the performance of the detachment commander. A little bit more work on our mega ride program, which will be happening the long weekend. And yeah, there wasn't much. We just discussed that motion from Terrace Bay, and yeah, it was just business as usual. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions anybody might have.
Thank you. Questions for the sitting member? Seeing none, I'll have a little bit more to say about Police Services Board under my council report. I make a report on the activities I've had relative to the detachment-wide board. If there's no questions, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. The Accessibility Committee. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sabran, seconded by Councillor Carmody. Councillor Sabran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have reported on these minutes before, and so I will be happy to take any questions. And I will note that the committee has decided that we will not be meeting in the month of May, as our workload doesn't seem to be that heavy. So we will push the meeting to June and instead use that important time to work towards our work plan individually. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the sitting member of the Accessibility Committee? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. Thank you. With that, we'll go to staff report, CS 04-2021. Kelly, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick procurement report for council to consider this evening. Back on Tuesday, March the 16th, we initiated our process to do park design for the parkland allotment in Laurentian Highlands subdivision. We did it by invitation and invited 3 companies that have done work for the municipality in the past. They were Lashley and Associates, Foten, which actually now is Doug Fountain and Associates that merged with Foten. So Mr. Fountain did work for us back at the 150th, and He now is the lead landscape architect for the Foten company. And of course, WSP. We received 2 proposals, both very well written, both almost completely identical in terms of the recommended process, what would be provided. There was about a discrepancy of about $4,500 in price between the 2 companies, and you can see the scoring as shared with you in the graphic in the report. WSP came out on top in terms of the RFP scoring as established in the RFP. Staff is recommending that we go ahead with WSP and proceed with the design project for this year. And I'd be glad to answer any questions council members may have.
Thank you very much. Open it up for questions of the report. No questions? I need a motion to accept the recommendation, please. Councillor Roots, Deputy Mayor Service. No questions. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed, if any? It's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. With that, we'll go to councillor reports. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, nothing to report.
Thank you. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. Nothing to report this week.
Thank you. Councillor Sabran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just with respect to activities I participated in the month of April, on the 6th, I participated in the Petawawa Business Advisory Committee meeting. On the 13th of April, I participated in the Community Improvement Plan meeting with the Economic Development Officer and Director of Planning, as well as with the consultant, and also with yourself and Councillor Roots and the team from the Petawawa Civic Center, team from Community Services for the 25th anniversary. And then finally on the 22nd, I participated in the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Mons.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Service.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. On April the 26th, we had a Petawawa Public Library Board meeting. And the big news from that meeting is we appointed our newly hired CEO. Her name is Lisa Warrobeck. Her first official day of work is tomorrow. I'd also like to thank publicly Amanda Foster, who was our CEO in the summer of 2017 until just recently, for all of her fine work over the last 4 years. She did a great job of guiding our library. And we're looking forward to many years with our new CEO, Lisa Warrobeck. I'd also like to congratulate Renfrew County athlete Melissa Bishop. She ran a 1.59 in the 800 meters in California on the weekend. She qualified for the Tokyo Olympics, her 3rd Olympics. So congratulations, Melissa, and good luck at the Olympics.
Okay. Thank you very much to yourself, Deputy Mayor, and to Councillor McLean, I believe, was assisting you in the Town Times. It's out, and I think a nice job of that, along with the community guide. It's in people's homes right now, so job well done. Thank you for doing that. With that, I'll go to my report. Before I do the Police Services Board detachment-wide, I was involved with, obviously, the County Council, and I brought the concerns about County Road 51 to the table. And we have, in fact, sent off a letter today to the county with regards to the design of the roundabout at Dorn, Mones, Victoria, not Victoria, but Petawawa Boulevard, etc. I was pretty vocal with our concerns of not being involved or being brought to the table before the preliminary design was moving to detailed design. But nonetheless, we'll wait and see what happens with that particular letter that went out today. I believe, CEO, is that correct?
No, but it is going tomorrow morning, actually, under your signature, sir.
Okay, okay, gets me every time, okay? So it's going out tomorrow morning, pardon me, and you'll get a copy of the letter. I also attended the Ottawa Valley ATV Club. And I have to tell you, I'm very, very impressed with that organization and how far they've come over the last little while. I attended their AGM, and it is amazing. For those who were around, I think Councillor Sabran, perhaps, or some of the older serving members of council, Councillor Mones, when they were a fledgling organization, the ATV Club of some 35 or 40 ATVs. Right now, today, they're very, very organized with Teresa Hebb as president. They have 1,463 registered members in that organization. And I have to tell you that Teresa runs that AGM just like clockwork. And I was very impressed with that. Just so you'll know, down on the other end of the Ottawa Valley Recreational Trail, there's some 650 registered ATVs. It's one of the fastest growing organizations that we have in Renfrew County and down through the trail into Lanark County as well. I also attended the 2022 Winter Games. I have been involved with meetings with the OPP, and I'll talk about that just in a few minutes with regards to that. So all in all, it's been quite busy with Zoom meetings. I'm getting to not like them, but I guess that's the way it is right now. So we'll move forward. I wanted to talk to you about this detachment-wide police services board. And you do have some copies of letters in there, I believe, correspondence from Sylvia Jones, the OPP detachment board proposals process, question and answers and correspondence from the city of Pembroke. Let me just say to you that there's a couple of items that you should be in the letter from Sylvia Jones that should be of some concern to you in terms of when this proposal goes forward. It's on May. It has to be in the hands of the province by May the 7th, 2021. And just above that, you'll see that the composition of the board is 20% community representatives and 20% provincial appointees to this particular board. They're asking for one proposal to go in by detachment of the OPP. And just to give you a flavor of what that detachment currently looks like, there's ourselves as the town of Petawawa. There's the city of Pembroke, Township of Laurentian Valley, Township of Laurentian Hills, United Townships of Head Clare Mariah, Township of Whitewater Region, Township of Edmonton Bromley, and the Township of North Algoma Wilberforce. Just so, again, to give you an idea, the Township of Whitewater Region, 50% of their municipality is policed by the Upper Ottawa Detachment of the OPP, and 50% of it is in the Renfrew Detachment. Edmonton Bromley similarly has part of their municipality, a very small part of it, nonetheless, that's in the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP, the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP, I should say, and Renfrew Detachment. North Algoma Wilberforce is a similar type situation, but half of their municipality, or even more of that, is in the Killaloe Detachment. So there's some challenges with that. So I put together a meeting with all of the heads of council and the CEOs to discuss the composition of this particular board, to ask some questions of the province. And we brought in Joanna Redding, who came in and spent about an hour and a half with us talking about the composition. I tried to explain to Joanna at the time that, and I said that you've probably heard this before, but I have to tell you that we are different in this part of the world in terms of the composition and the size of the the board or the municipalities that are within the detachment. Head Clermont, for example, is 248 houses. Petawawa has 17,000, population 248. Population of Petawawa is 17,187. Laurentian Hills 2,961. Laurentian Valley 9,300. Pembroke 13,800. Whitewater 7,000. Adamson Bromley 2,900. North Algona Wilberforce is 2,900 as well. I'm taking this from a letter that I received from the Police Services Board that want to form or maintain their own Police Services Board. Which apparently can be done, but it has to be included in one submission to the Solicitor General. So, for example, that would leave 7 that are outside that particular Police Services Board that the Pembroke Police Services Board wants to stay part of and go on their own. You can see from the diversity of the population just how critical and how difficult this is to try and formulate something that is fair and equitable to all parties concerned. As you probably know, the headquarters of the OPP for the Upper Ottawa Valley is situated in the town of Petawawa. And I took it upon myself to offer, and it was accepted, that we would put in the proposal based on what everyone comes back to us and talks to us about. It's interesting to know, we also had a discussion, myself and the chair of the board, with the detachment commander. And it was a very in-depth situation. I also had correspondence back from the Joanna lady that we had, and what she indicated is that she understood that this area has some very unique circumstances, but they were able to, she just said she was able to support us as we work forward to get this proposal in place. And I'll say again, this has got to be put in place by July the 7th. So not much lead time to get this into by the time we make our decision as to how we want to do this, whether we want to be a standalone situation as is the city of Pembroke. Where I'm not quite sure how Whitewater Region would want to do this, whether they'd want to be have a foot in both camps, i.e. the did I say July the 7th? It's June the 7th, pardon me. They wanted to have a foot in the Renfrew Detachment Police Services Board and one in the Upper Ottawa Valley, and similarly with the other 2 that are part of our group. So it's a little bit of a dilemma for us, and I'd like to have a bit of a chat with you with regards to how we go about formulating this board and what we should do as far as ourselves are concerned. I think there's flexibility to determine the composition of this board, but it's getting to the point where if you look at this, where there's a need for everyone that's in there, I'm sure would want to be at the table. And if that's the case, you've got, if you'll take the city of Pembroke out, which is what they want to be on their own, then that would leave 7. Then there's 7 members of council right off the bat, and then there's community, then there's provincial appointees that would have to be appointed to that as well. The province will take a little bit of a dim view if it gets up over 15, but there's a minimum that would have to be in place, and that is 5. How you get equal representation with this particular process, with all of the number of municipalities that are in this particular situation, I'm not quite sure. I have an idea how I'd like to see it go. We did also get a call back from through Sarah Caldwell, who's with Solicitor General's office, and I received this from James. Thank you, James. She advised that the ministry seemed quite willing to work with municipalities that wish to stay the course and not go to detachment board. Quote, we're not disturbing things that are currently working well. So here we've got a bit of a dilemma. We can stay on our own the way it is. We do have a section 10 board, police services board. I neglected to indicate that the others, other than the city of Pembroke outside, that are in the OPP detachment, all have a community CPAC that are in place. They don't have police services boards. There is a cost to a police services board. In our particular case, it's approximately $1,000. That would mean the other municipalities would have to form be part of this police services board, which would increase costs to them as well. There is no transitional funding. I asked that question. There would be, we believe, honorariums to those who sit on the board. We currently have a 3-person board. If we wanted to stay the course and go with our own police services board, we'd have to increase it by another 2, which would increase the cost somewhat as well. There's, as I say, 20% of the composition of the board is required. So that's basically it is. There is a framework that you see there. At the end of the day, Police Services Board is a functional and very useful tool for the town of Petawawa. I don't know how functional it would be if you have 16 or 15 members sitting around the table trying to find consensus with this particular situation. So I have some concerns about the way this is being formulated. I don't know if James or Dan wants to chip in, and James has been talking and was sat in on a meeting with the OPP detachment commander, and Dan sat in with the meeting that I put together for the 8 mayors that and CEOs. So I can not open it up, but maybe there's something that either one of these gentlemen wish to bring to this discussion. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. So the mayor has nicely summarized all the issues surrounding this. We're in a very unique situation in the sense that we have one detachment covering 8 different municipalities. So Pembroke has expressed a desire to go on their own, and which may be something that we want to consider as well. And but even if you took us and Pembroke out of the picture, and you still composed a police services board with the 6 remaining municipalities, you would wind up with a very unwieldy number of people in this meeting, and I'm not sure just how functional it would wind up being. But we're going to have to decide at some point, and there are still a number of things that are not clear to me. And the Solicitor General said in the proposals that are submitted through your detachment, there's 1 proposal per detachment. So Pembroke's desire to be their distinct board would be a part of that proposal. And should we decide to go that way, our desires would be a part of that proposal as well. And when you propose that you would like to have your own police services board, you have to state your rationale. But it's not clear what sufficient rationale would be, or what their criteria would be for, oh yes, okay, you guys fit the bill for having your own PSP. So that part's just simply not clear. However, there are a number of things that are clear, and that if we did go with a PSB of our own, we would have to go to a 5-member board from a 3. But other than that, the mayor has nicely summarized all the issues.
Okay, so just so that you'll know, even though you put this proposal through, and let's say the city of Pembroke, and it's obvious there's a reason for it. I think they're uniquely different than anybody else within the Upper Ottawa detachment. They're basically an urban environment, and they have they want to control the policing through the police services board We have substantial investment in policing in the city of Pembroke. I understand that, and that is their desire. Having said that, regardless of how we go ahead, if we put the proposal in and it includes a separate police services board, let's say for Pembroke, and if that is the decision that we wanted to go, and a separate one for ourselves, there's no guarantee that the province would accept that as the way they would like to see the detachment board set up. So it's still in limbo as far as that's concerned until it goes and gets endorsed by the province itself. Now, in the event that someone decides to not have a position on this particular situation, the province will make up their mind for them, and they will make the decision as to how you will be part of a police services board as well. They intend to bring that and put it in place by early 2022. But our challenge is to try and bring together some sort of formula to bring this one detachment board together, regardless of how it's compiled. Dan, I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
Well, I can just echo what Councillor Carmody has said, Mr. Mayor. I think you've outlined things very clearly. And certainly one proposal per detachment is what the Solicitor General's office is looking for. So the bottom line will be, whatever the structure looks like, what the Solicitor General is asking for is that there's consensus amongst the partners. So, the City of Pembroke is very concisely putting together their package of information to support their rationale for being on their own. And what the expectation is from the Solicitor General's office is that we, in fact, would be supportive for the rest of the municipalities within the detachment would support that. So there will be one submission. That one submission could say that there might be three boards, but the bottom line is that there is consensus that's being sought and that we're not all coming at this from a different direction.
Thank you. Just another little piece to add to the puzzle. When this detachment-wide board is put in place, the existing Section 10s no longer exist, and it would be this detachment board that would be in play. I did ask the question because there are provincial appointees are on our current board. What happens to those provincial appointees who are in fact eligible to sit to their, say, 2024 or 2023, apparently that would die with the cancellation of the Section 10s, and you begin that process all over again. And there's nothing to stop those who are currently in place to reapply to get on that board. The challenge I see, quite frankly, is the size of a detachment-wide board that would want representation on the board, and it kicks in at this 20% of community involvement and provincial appointees. That's where we are. So I'm kind of, what I'd like, if it's possible, is some sort of what your general feeling is with this particular situation. We will have to have another meeting of the heads of council and the CEOs, because we have to formulate this proposal going forward. And as you can appreciate, whatever we come up with, we'll have to go back to our respective councils for endorsement, and then we'll write the proposal and send it into the province for their ratification. So we don't have much lead time, although it's not. I'll correct myself. June the 7th, not July the 7th. Thank you, CEO. You're always on the ball. Appreciate that. So I'll open it up for questions or discussions, or what your thoughts are with this going forward. Councillor Roots.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just my thoughts and concerns is I would like to see us continue the course of action that we're on. I'm very happy with our police services board, the representation that we have on it, and the service that we get from the OPP, and it's keeps our concerns right in our community. That's my thoughts. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, one question. With the additional 2 representatives, is that a provincial, or is this one more municipal appointment, or what's those other 2 appointees?
It could be one of each, I guess. It depends on the company. It could be 20 community. It could be one provincial, one municipal. It's a combination of 5 members that sit on a single board.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further? Councillor Sabra and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that we have enjoyed very good service from our existing Police Services Board. I think that when you start getting into board memberships exceeding 10 and 12 people, it just becomes, I'm just going to say, a dog's breakfast to try to get issues resolved and try to meet the needs, particularly given our large geographic area and the variances in our population. When I was looking, when I was reading this article, of course, when it stated to factors to consider, I think we are very well positioned with respect to the geography, very well positioned with respect to population size, the number of municipalities. I don't know what the service demands and calls for service are related from one area to the next and a combination thereof. But again, I think that we can present based on those factors a very good argument to stay the course. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also agree with maintaining the status quo. We've had an excellent working relationship between our Police Services Board and our local OPP detachment. And I just think if we had 10, 12, or 15 members, it would be very difficult to find consensus with a lot of our more localized matters in terms of, you know, the wide geographical area we share with all these other neighboring municipalities. And to add 2 extra members, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's only a couple extra $1,000 to add a couple extra members. So I'm quite comfortable with the status quo. Things have been working very well up to this point.
Thank you. Councillor Mons.
Yeah, based on the information that I've seen and what I hear, I'd be in agreement with the rest of the council members and keeping the status quo at this point.
Okay, thank you. I think we've heard from everyone, so that you'll know. Bear in mind that regardless of how we put this together, if we move forward with a standalone or our own Police Services Board and include it in the document, as I'll reiterate, it may not receive a positive endorsement by the province of Ontario, and they may come back and reject it. So there's got to be a rationale for doing this outside of what the Solicitor General's office has talked to us about. I can tell you, but not from us. There was some concerns about voting and quorums, rationale. Why does a large municipality have more than one vote over somebody who is much smaller, who has should they be at the same level as we are, and so forth. It seems very convoluted and very confusing to put this in place. But I would like, I think the general consensus that I've got from council is that you would like to continue the status quo moving forward, which is helpful for me as I have, as I say, another meeting with the heads of council to talk about this going forward. This is useful information. I think the city of Pembroke is absolutely adamant. Their council passed a resolution to this effect, and they're moving forward in that regard. I did ask the province, was it necessary to pass a resolution of council? And while they said that would be helpful, it's not necessary. But nonetheless, that's where we are with this particular situation. So thank you. We've had a good discussion on this. It is a very difficult process that we're working with, given the different levels of size of municipalities that are within this detachment. Councillor Carmody.
Thank you, Mayor Sweet. One point that I just wanted to make, and I think it's a fairly important thing, is that should we proceed with a proposal to maintain our own Police Services Board as we currently have, and let's say the province decides that, okay, your rationale is not strong enough, so therefore you have to go with the existing PSB. we should determine exactly how that will roll out, just in case that was the outcome. Because the other 6 municipalities in this detachment will have come up with a plan for formulation of the PSB that they're going to have to form. Presumably, none of them will choose to go on their own. And at that point, we may be forced into a situation where we're not adequately represented, or not represented to the degree that we might want to be. So we should just look at both possible outcomes here and try and plan for the best, hope for the best, but plan for the worst.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Okay. Well, I'll keep you abreast. As I say, we'll put together another meeting and have a chat. I've given them all the information. They asked a lot of questions at the meeting, and we'll need to gather it together and see what the other municipalities want to do with this particular situation. But I've got a flavor for what our council wants to do, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much for that dialogue today. With that, folks, we do have a session for closed, and it's the meeting be closed pursuant to 239 of the Municipal Act, 201C25, to discuss personal matters about identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, to discuss a vacancy on the Public Library Board, and to review an appointment to the Petawawa Accessibility Advisory Committee. With that, that's the reason we're going into closed. I need a motion, please. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Carmody, Councillor Sabran, all in favor? And we are now in closed. order of business, I think, Don, is the motion to appoint someone to the board, to the advisory board. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes, we can do that, yeah.
Okay. So I have a motion here that Leah Cuff be appointed to the Petawawa Accessibility Advisory Committee for a term concurrent with council. I need a motion, please. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Sabran, pardon me, Deputy Mayor Service. Any discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed of any? It's carried. That's all we have to do coming out of closed.
Just wanted to report to the public as well that due to the resignation of Elizabeth Traguno effective June 30th from the Petawawa Public Library Board, staff has been given direction to advertise the vacant position in accordance with Section 11(1) of the Public Libraries Act.
Thank you for that. With that, then we'll go to the confirming bylaw. Need a motion, please. First, second, and third reading. Councillor Root, seconded by Councillor Carmody. All in favor? It is carried.
Bylaw 140521 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its electronic meeting held on May 3rd, 2021. This constitutes first, second, third reading short of bylaw 140521.
Nothing else for the betterment of the town. I need a motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Sabran and Deputy Mayor Service. All in favor? It is carried. We are